Coffee and Headlines is brought to you by the generous support of our viewers and the following community partners: Best Cord Cutting TV, Bravo's Restaurant Bar, El Rey Lounge de Versalles, Joint Boutique Hotel and Co-work, Puerto Vallarta Neurofeedback, Puerto Vallarta Owners Reps, Oculto, and Siam Cocina Thai. Thank you for your support, and thank you for supporting our community partners. Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to Coffee and Headlines, and welcome back to Coffee and Headlines headquarters. As you can see, I'm broadcasting from home, but as you can see, I have a ticker going on. I am taking a chance on Telmix and hoping that we will be able to have 30 minutes of uninterrupted connection. If that is not the case, what I'll do is I'll schlep my stuff and get to the Joint Boutique Hotel this afternoon a little earlier, broadcast today's news from there, before we move on to the spotlight, which of course will take place at 4 p.m. Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to Coffee and Headlines. This is our get together live from home, from Casa Chaos, from Coffee and Headlines headquarters, live on Facebook, available later on YouTube. We're here, as always, to take a look at some of today's news, which we don't have a lot of, but we have interesting commentary to share, a couple of events, and I want to tease you with some information about a great event that I'm going to be announcing next week. We also have viewer mail, and I think it's stuff that you may find interesting. And I went to see Emilia Pérez yesterday, and I would love to give you my spoiler-free stream of consciousness commentary on the movie and why you may actually consider not watching it at the theater in Puerto Vallarta. Loved it, but we'll get into it in a second. First, as usual, we have our news section, but before we go there, if you have an important question that you wish to share or comment, please add a capital letter Q at the beginning. If you are watching live for the first time and would like a nice little welcome, it helps a great deal if you add a capital letter N at the beginning of your comment, and we'll be so happy to give you a nice little friendly welcome. Let's take a look at the news. For starters, Constitution Day is coming this weekend here in Mexico, along with the first long weekend of the year. You can find out historical context about this important celebration in the referenced article by Banderas News, which you will find in your show notes today. Needless to say, in anticipation of the long holiday commemorating the promulgation of the 1917 Constitution, authorities from all three levels of government will reinforce security in Puerto Vallarta. Military and state presence will be increased on the Nogales Highway and on the roads connecting Jalisco with Nayarit to ensure safe transformation. Locally, in addition, a special operation will be deployed along Francisco Medina Asensio Boulevard to speed up vehicular traffic, while military and naval elements will reinforce surveillance on Las Animas Beach, one of the most popular tourist spots. So it's nice to know that all three levels of government get involved in this. Somebody asked me very recently, can you explain the different types of police that we have in Puerto Vallarta? And I believe we unpacked that not too long ago. It's not so much that there's increased police presence in Puerto Vallarta as much as it is that when it comes to security in Puerto Vallarta, all three levels of government get involved. Now, let us take a quick look at the weather forecast to see what's going on out there. Oh, that's long. I used to think you meatbags were stuck in the darkest timeline, but now it's clear that you're actually living in the dumbest timeline. That hurt, but it didn't come from me. It came from our snarky weatherman, so we're not going to pay attention to that. What we're going to pay attention to is the fact that it is 21 degrees out there. Humidity is at 66% at present time. And our weather forecast indicates that today we'll enjoy clear skies throughout the day with a high of 25 and a low of 14. Tomorrow, Thursday, we can expect mostly clear skies throughout the day with a high of 24 and a low of 14. And finally, Friday, we can expect mostly clear skies throughout the day with a high of 24 and a low of 14. So the weather is standardizing a little bit, and that makes me very happy. Now, before we continue, I can tell you that we're going to start with a restaurant report. I don't call them reviews because I'm not a restaurant reviewer. This is simply my experience. And this time around, we're going to take a look at not Puerto Vallarta, Versalles' latest grill. I've been curious to visit it, and I finally was able to do so yesterday. And even before I show you where it is or what this is about, I have to tell you, sometimes you get the best gift in things that you didn't realize you needed. And in my case, I didn't realize I needed a good glass of wine and a good hamburger. And that's exactly what I found when I was walking home from the Joint Boutique Hotel and I saw Fuego Asador. This is the brand new grill located at the corner of Aldanaca and Merida Streets in Colonia Versalles. It used to be something else, and I don't even remember what it used to be. So I figured I want to check it out and see what it is about, as I am a shameless meat lover. The place, again, is at the corner of Medina and Aldanaca Streets. There is a parking lot located right next to the restaurant for your convenience. And the owners have cleverly used the wall on the parking lot to display their menu along with prices, which I thought is a nifty idea. I don't know if the city is going to get upset about this, but I think it's very helpful. Once you enter the restaurant, it is nice to see a very spacious environment, high ceilings, temperature controlled, which will be great in the summer months. They just open, I believe, in November. So it's nice to see that this place is so spacious and comfortable. There is a lot to drink along with all the food. And as is traditional in many of these types of restaurants, there is a little playground area in case you bring young ones along with your meal and they get a little restless. Once I sat down rather, the first thing that happened is I was offered chips and salsa. And of course, I had to try them. Needless to say, the fact that you see salsas on your table does not mean that they're going to taste like salsas at every other restaurant. In fact, I find it quite fun to check out the subtle differences between the salsas from one restaurant to another. And here, neither one of these two salsas was particularly spicy, but they were both very, very flavorful. I then proceeded to look at the wine menu because I was craving a glass and I was happy to be able to enjoy a, a glass of house Malbec for 95 pesos. Not a great price, but certainly not a bad price for Puerto Vallarta. Then I perused the meat cuts selection of the menu. And of course, the meat cuts, I believe, were priced, not too high, not too low, but was actually craving a burger, which I found on a separate page of the menu. And then, of course, I also looked at the cocktail menu, which was a separate publication. And there's a lot of stuff to choose from. Needless to say, as in many of these restaurants, you can get the house wine for a certain amount of money, and then you can get sophisticated drinks for more. And as is usual, in Puerto Vallarta restaurants, if your cocktail ends, the cocktail name ends with ini, as in martini, or in ani, as in Negroni, then you're going to pay top peso for your cocktail. So if you're on a budget, stay away from those inis and anis. Once my burger arrived, it was heavenly. It was neither too large or too small. It was perfect. And one thing that I enjoyed about the burger is that I knew from the first bite it was going to be love at first sight. You know, there's something to be said about sitting down and taking the first bite of something that is meat related. And when I did this, you know, it tasted like real beef, like, yeah. And then you could taste the grill. So I knew I had come to the right place. Also, it was nice that there was this mayo and garlic dressing available that came with the burger, and the dressing was equally wonderful, either on the burger or on the fries. So I have to tell you, this was a great deal. At the end, I don't think I put my bill among the photos that I wanted to show you, but including tip, I think I ended up spending like 320 pesos for a most wonderful meal. Do I look forward in trying some of the more ambitious meat cuts? Absolutely. And one other thing that I want to say about the restaurant, yes, there was background music playing, but it was not so loud that it would have interfered um, in a conversation had I been sitting down with friends. I was there by myself, and I totally recommend this restaurant. I will, of course, leave you with all the information in the show notes for today. Now, I want to answer viewer mail that has to do with a spotlight interview, and I am going to try to sound as unsnarky as I can because my intention here is to be supportive and helpful. But sometimes, despite my best effort, my words tend to sound snarky. So please know that I'm not trying to be snarky, not about this thing that I'm going to show you on the screen, and also about our event, an event or two that I wish to talk about. Let's see, where did I put that? Oh, here it is. It says here, since this will be my first live interview experience, I wanted to ask if you could share any tips on how I can best prepare for it. That's one. Number two, additionally, if possible, I would love to know if I could receive the questions in advance. That's number two. This would help me feel more comfortable and ensure that I can provide insightful and engaging responses. That's number three. So let's unpack this one by one. First of all, just for the sake of perspective, I get as nervous as anybody else whenever I do interviews. And the one thing that you want to keep in mind is if you think you're going to be nervous, make own it. Own it and make that part of the authentic aspect of being interviewed. You know, I mean, I always acknowledge it. And the minute I acknowledge it, I feel better. So if you're going to be interviewed by me or by anyone, you know, just acknowledge it. Wow, this is my first interview, but I am looking forward to sharing what I brought to share. That was number one. Additionally, on number one, God bless. I am so surprised when I get asked for these kinds of tips and things like that when there is such a wealth of information available online, on websites, on YouTube, everywhere. All you have to do is ask your web browser, how do I get prepared for a good interview? And you'd be amazed at the amount of tips that you'll find out there. Number two was I would love to know if I could receive the questions in advance. The answer is no. I don't ever do that because I don't ever know um, about where the interview is going to go. But I'm going to sound like a broken record by saying something that we say here at Coffee and Headlines um, on a regular basis, and I hope this sounds like for this serves as inspiration for anyone that is a product, a service, an event, or anyone that wants to reach out to other people. Basically, if I was watching an interview, I would want to know who are you, what you bring to the table, and what is the reason I should care to pay attention to what you're saying. I mean, to me, that is a no-brainer. Anybody that is in business in Puerto Vallarta, whether your business is for profit or not for profit, should feel comfortable answering those questions. If you don't know your product, if you don't know what sets you aside from other products, I don't know that I know that. And I don't know that I, as an interview host, I'm going to be able to convey that uh, eloquently. So this is more of a look at yourself in the mirror kind of thing. And I know that if you ask yourself those questions, what makes me special? Why should people attend? Why should people come to my event? Why should people give money to my costs? That is something that I would imagine anybody would want to know even before you are set out to represent an event, a service, a product, you name it. So um, I hope this is helpful, but I am going to make a case in point. And by this, I don't mean to throw shade or otherwise shame the event that I want to show you on the screen. And that event is this one. This was sent to me. Somebody asked me to plug this event, which I'm happy to do. But when the person reached out to me, she said, "Well, just look for the event on Eventbrite. It's listed under this, that, and the other." And I thought to myself, "Well, I'm happy to do that uh, for you because I happen to have 3 extra minutes this morning. But you would think that if you want some publicity for your event, you would provide whoever is going to amplify your message with all the necessary information." Tickets for this particular event, which is a benefit for Casa Esperanza, featuring Amy Armstrong, Guda Gabor, Sargento Dan, and Ada Vox, is coming up. This is coming up on February the 20th. Mucho fiesta, it says. And tickets are going to be 700 pesos per person or thereabouts, but there's no information provided on the event description about what percentage will be donated to charity. There is no specific information about Casa Esperanza Women's Shelter. So if you're already familiar with this particular organization, then you're in luck. If you are not, then there's no compelling information available as to why you should attend the event. This does not make for a bad event. I am sure there are great reasons to attend this one or any event out there, but it really makes me wonder as a member of the audience, where do we get additional information from when it is not readily provided by the organizers? I also caught eye of this other event this morning. This is coming up for January the 12th. This is another fundraising event. Join us for a night to remember, it says, at Arte Vallarta Museo's fundraising event where creativity and culture come to life. Immerse yourself in a celebration of visual art, captivating live performances, delicious food, and refreshing beverages, all set in the vibrant heart of Puerto Vallarta. Well, that sounds lovely to me, but it is a fundraising event. It doesn't say how much it's going to cost. It doesn't say what the proceeds are going to be used for. And again, I am sure it's going to be an awesome event. But with so many fundraising events happening in the city, wouldn't you appreciate a little bit more information? Um, or maybe I'm just being picky. I don't know. Maybe you have all the time and the budget to attend fundraising events and make a change. I don't. So I would love to see more information provided on these events. Just let me know what you think about this, and we'll take a look at it, because our purpose here is not to chastise events. Quite the contrary, we want to empower people to communicate their message as loudly as possible so that Coffee and Headlines and other media outlets can amplify it. And that is just my 2 cents about these two particular situations. As long as we are, oh my God, Emilia Perez. We haven't talked about Emilia Perez. What else do we have? Let me see that I'm not missing anything. This afternoon, of course, we are going to do the spotlight with all three guests that have confirmed. Ashley Werder is going to talk about photography services. Frankie Victoria is going to talk about Vallarta Cares. And not Linda Vasquez, but somebody else is going to talk about Puerto Vallarta chili cook-off this afternoon. Now, my 2 cents on Emilia Perez. Wow. Wow. What an extraordinary film that was. Emilia Perez is first and foremost a work on fiction inspired by actual events. So that's no different than, say, a movie about divorce or a movie about going on a trip. These are actual events. So it is a work of fiction. It is beautifully filmed, imaginatively executed and conceived, both photographically and as far as the music and as far as the 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 story of the film. The plot is brilliant. It is completely unexpected. And for those people that felt that the leading actresses had an accent, they didn't sound Mexican, well, I was honestly not paying attention to that, although I get back to the accents in a second. The story was so intriguing and captivating that I was immersed in the story. That said, yes, Selena Gomez, ay Dios mío, her Spanish left a lot to be desired, but that somehow added some context to the character that she played, which I thought was absolutely fascinating. I'm very, very glad that I went. The pace of the film was beautiful, and the ending was just what it had to be. It really was. Now, is it close to home? Yes, it is. It deals with kidnappings and narco, which happens in Mexico, and it almost, yes, it almost normalizes it to the point that it is uncomfortable to watch on the screen. But this is first and foremost a work of fiction that everybody should watch. But here's the problem for English speaking locals living in Puerto Vallarta: about 80% of the film is spoken and sung in Spanish, and the film is not shown with English subtitles. It is shown with Spanish subtitles. Um, so if you don't understand Spanish, you may get a broad gist of what's going on through the visuals, but definitely you may want to find it online or wherever you can watch it with English subtitles. My final thought about Emilia Perez, I found myself thinking about it through the watching of the film, through the viewing, and I thought to myself, this could easily be the equivalent of watching a Met Opera broadcast. You know, opera singers don't always get the accents for the countries or the languages they're singing, and yet we don't chastise them. we recognize that uh, operas are a work of fiction. So I really do wonder why so many Mexican nationals have been so difficult or so not difficult, so dissatisfied with the film. And a quick comment pops to my mind here. Emilia Perez, nope, nope, nope. Well, Fernando, all I can say is fine, fine, fine. You have your opinion, and I have mine, and we are all free to make up our minds if we choose to do so. And it's 10:56 and we're still here and things have I mean, I don't detect any signal interruptions at my end. Do let me know how the broadcast quality has been for you, please, as I go through your good mornings. Da-da-da-da, da-da-da-da, da-da-da-da. Many good mornings. You're rocking the red t-shirt. These are my comfy shirts. Sometimes I think to myself, Paco, you should at least be wearing a polo shirt for broadcasts. But hey, we're keeping it real here at Coffee and Headlines. We always do. Let's see. Let's see. How many movie theaters does Puerto Vallarta have? That is an excellent question, my beloved lady of question. There's Cinépolis in Pitillal. There's Cinemark or Cine. I forget what the name of the other theater is. There's Cinépolis in Pitillal. There's Cine something on Macro Plaza. There's Cinépolis VIP. And what else? I think those are the three movie theater complexes. I personally prefer to go to Cinépolis VIP because now I'm spoiled by the experience. If I'm forgetting theaters within Puerto Vallarta, please let me know. There are other movie theaters in the North Shore in our neighbor state of Nayarit. Let's see. Pa-da-pa-pa. Oh my God, Karen, everything was so good. I was so happy to, like, halfway through my meal, I realized, Paco, you didn't realize you needed that meal. You needed to pamper yourself. And I am so very glad that I did. Let's see what else we have. Boop, boom, boom, boom. Here's a little report from Barbara. We went to Basilio, besides La Comer, yesterday for a late lunch. The vegetable platter was huge and the shrimp pasta good. We were trying to stem our appetite before going to Costco / La Comer. I've never had a bad meal at Basilio. I love their thin crust pizzas. I think they have about the thinnest crust I've experienced here in Puerto Vallarta. So if you're looking on watching your carbs, that is a great recommendation. Let's see what else we have. I think you might have opened the people's mind on these fundraisers. No one reports the funds raised except for Frankie, who is on your show tonight. Love to hear her opinion. Well, we'll be happy to ask Frankie about that during the Spotlight interview. There are a lot of grumblings. And again, here in Puerto Vallarta, here in Coffee and Headlines, we like to focus on the actual information and the sources. But I hear a lot of people grumbling in town about nonprofits that don't report their actual funding and they are not specific about their financial goals. All I'm going to say is I'm going to leave it at that. If I was a nonprofit organization, I would be concerned. But I'm not. I'm Coffee and Headlines, so I can only concern about the things that come out of my mouth and that we share with you here in the broadcast and other things that we have available for you to consider. Let's see. Christy, it is so great to read you, and thank you very much for the feedback. I very much appreciated. Pum, 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 pum. Jonathan says, I saw Emilia Perez on my television and I had English subtitles. I'm happy to hear and I'm grateful to know that the film is being broadcast with English subtitles elsewhere. A final thought about Emilia Perez, it raises awareness on important topics. And let us not forget that art is about pushing boundaries. Art is about pushing buttons. Art is about reflecting society as we know it. And film and opera and books and music have been pushing envelopes since the beginning of time because that is what art is about. Personally, I'm glad so many people are talking about Emilia Perez because hopefully at some point, even if it's at a subconscious level, it will remind us to think about these things. And with that said, I forgot to give you my heads up. Okay, I'm co-producing a kick-ass event. And I am so excited that everything is falling into place. And you're going to find this event very interesting, I hope. And we'll be ready to announce it publicly this coming Monday. Between now and then, as always, I remain grateful for your contributions, your memberships, your comments, your questions, your agreements, your disagreements, your inspiration, and everything you bring to our broadcasts and to our cluster. Thank you so much for sharing all this information with your friends and locals. Thank you so much for being a part of our broadcasts. I'll see you this afternoon live and maybe in person from the joint for another edition of the Spotlight. Have a great day, and I'll see you this afternoon, or if not, tomorrow morning.